Here I am. I found you after all. Akkad, why are you avoiding me? Laviette found the boy in the garden. He was sitting on the ground, hidden behind a tree. I'm not avoiding you at all. Shivering with his whole body, the boy admitted. I just took your hand and you immediately broke free and ran away. And after that, you want to tell me you're not avoiding me? Laviette took a few steps toward the boy. But my father told me never to take off my gloves, and you ripped it off my hand. I had to do that, replied Akkad. And what's in it for me now for ripping the glove off your hand? Laviette asked. The boy said nothing, only cried quietly. Oh, okay, I won't do that again, or you'll faint next time. Sighing heavily, Laviette said. Laviette sat down next to Akkad and told him that when he cries, he gets very ugly. My mom always tells me that I am beautiful under any circumstances. Through his tears, the boy said, Okay, you talked me into it. You're prettier than Rosa Salome. Laviette hurried to comfort the boy, but he remarked that the girl had never seen Lady Rosa, so she couldn't know if she was beautiful or not. Yes, you're right. I've never seen her, but I have an idea of what she might look like. And I command you to stop crying or I will kiss you, Laviette exclaimed. I heard crying in the garden, so I decided to see what happened here. Miss, have you been bullying Akkad again? A stern voice asked the approaching Alan. I didn't bully him. Akkad ran away from me on his own and started crying alone. And I want to remind you that you are my escort, so you should be on my side, Laviette exclaimed and hugged Alan tightly. Miss, you've been kind of strange lately. Just a month ago, you were feuding with Akkad, and now you're striving hard to become his friend. What happened? Is it really because of that incident? Alan asked the girl, taking her in his arms. Laviette Diaz had one big secret. It was a month ago, after she fell in the garden and lost consciousness. When the girl woke up, she realized several new facts. First, the girl suddenly realized that she was in a book world. This was the book she had read in her past life. Secondly, the girl realized that she had involuntarily reincarnated into the younger sister of the main character, Werner Diaz. Laviette also remembered the main points of the plot. In this book, the main character's sister died at an early age due to a prolonged illness. The author had prescribed her in the book only for the main character Werner to have mental anguish. Now Laviette knew that she was destined to die at the age of 20. Laviette's body was extremely weak. Even a slight touch would cause bruises. The doctors advised her to be more careful not to ruin her body prematurely. Luckily, Laviette was friends with Akkad Enoch. He had healing powers and regularly treated the girl's injuries. Laviette remembered that in the original story, Akkad would go off to war when he turned 16. Laviette decided that she would not sit back and meekly await his death. She didn't care about the story of the book or its characters. She just wanted to survive, and only Akkad could help her do that. Damn, I only remember the main events of the story, but I'm completely oblivious to the small details. Are there any moments in the story that I should be in control of? Who is my enemy? Did I die myself, or did someone help me? Laviette thought with annoyance. You're sighing so heavily. Are you in pain about something? Asked Akkad. The girl hastened to assure him that she was fine. I can heal your wounds, but you are too weak. I won't be able to increase your strength, Akkad admitted. You will sleep with me tonight, Laviette said decisively and plopped the boy on the bed. But I slept with you last week. Why are you asking me to do it again? Akkad wondered. Laviette admitted to him that when she sleeps with him, she feels much better the next morning. Also, when he's around, she doesn't have nightmares. Laviette was ashamed to use the power of a small child, but there was no other choice. She decided that she would stay by his side until he grows up and goes off to war. The girl decided that when she was of age, she would find a healing priest and marry him. She could not become Akkad's consort, as the plot of the book was that he was secretly in love with her older brother. Akkad, move over to me quickly, and why are you always so timid? The girl was indignant. The thing is, I should only sleep with the one I love, grumbled Akkad. Maybe remind him that I'm a lot like the person he likes. I distinctly remember there was no romance in the original story. He was just chasing after the main character. Laviette thought to herself. Getting angry, Laviette took all the pillows from Akkad, which he snuggled against and hugged him tightly. Just think of it as having my big brother by your side instead of me. I know you like him. I look a lot like my brother. I have the same hair and eye color, said Laviette. No, you don't look like him. You are completely different, exclaimed Akkad. All right, not alike, so not alike. Just hold my hand then. It makes it easier for me to fall asleep, Laviette admitted. Akkad, do you know you have very pretty hair? They're so soft that I think they'll disappear as soon as I touch them. That's why I like them so much. And your hair looks like it's about to glow in the sun. Your eyes remind me of gems, said an embarrassed Akkad. It's actually not hard for me to take her hand and be around her all the time, but I don't want it to get hurt again, thought to himself Akkad. Laviette, how much longer are you going to lie there with your eyes closed? You told me you sleep well with me. What a liar you are after all, said the young pink-haired man. Laviette tried to move, but couldn't. With a startled shudder, the girl opened her eyes. She guessed it was just a dream. Please let go of my hand. You squeezed it too tight. I was only going to gently get out of bed. I didn't think you would wake up, said Akkad to the girl. After breakfast, Laviette decided to take a walk around the garden with Akkad. The girl noticed that he was upset about something. The book said that Akkad liked to go into his own thoughts. Laviette decided it was because the person he liked wasn't even looking at him. Even if things go wrong in your life, always remember that you have me, the girl exclaimed and hugged Akkad tightly. Akkad, did you have a good time yesterday? His mother, Duchess Enoch, asked the boy. Seems like it, Akkad muttered in a confused voice. The more he interacted with Laviette, the less he understood what was going on in her head. Her behavior had been extremely strange lately, and he had absolutely no idea why she was always talking about her brother. It seems Laviette is a peculiar person. Look at that. She sent the invitation letter again. I think she enjoys spending time with you. By the way, she has very pretty handwriting. I definitely want her to be my daughter-in-law, exclaimed the Duchess. Hearing that Laviette was calling him to visit again, Akkad went in search of his nanny. He requested of the woman that she prepare his new suit and shine his shoes. I have noticed that the young gentleman always gets extremely excited when he is going to the Marquis Diaz's mansion. He seems to like the Marquis's daughter, whispered the maids among themselves. Akkad, you look very well today, Laviette admired. I'll be sure to show the real me today, Akkad thought to himself. You do look very good today. It's just a pity my brother isn't home, mumbled the girl. Akkad, how about we go to the garden tonight? The maids told me that if you look deep into the abandoned well at midnight, when the full moon rises, you can see a fairy. Laviette pulled a large blanket off the clothesline. Also, the maid said that this fairy can grant any wish. I want to go to the well tonight to see it with my own eyes. I'm not sure we'll be able to do anything, since even the wish we made at the temple didn't come true, Akkad said in a hesitant voice. But we can try. What if we succeed? If you don't want to go, I'll go myself, and only my wish will come true. Laviette noticed that the boy was hesitating greatly. In any case, going at night is not an option. It's too dangerous, said Akkad. You really don't want to come with me? I'll be lonely out there alone, said the girl in a sad voice. Akkad felt sorry for her, so he agreed to go to the well. Laviette led Akkad to the kitchen and asked him if he could pack a big bag of provisions. Also, we'll be sure to bring coffee with us. I mean, we'll have to stay up until midnight. Laviette pulled a container of coffee from the top shelf. Suddenly, the chair beneath the girl shook and she began to fall. Akkad ran to her and grabbed her legs. Laviette tilted even more, and they flew to the floor together. Akkad, what a good boy you are after all! You came to my rescue and literally saved me! The girl shouted joyfully. An irritated Alan burst into the kitchen. Miss, what are you doing here? I thought you were told that you were not to go into the kitchen, for it is very dangerous for you here. Leave now before I tell the Marquis everything." Akkad guessed that if the Marquis found out that his sister was walking in forbidden places, he would forbid the boy to come to his house. So Akkad grabbed Laviette's hand and hurried out of the kitchen. "And when did these kids become such a problem?" mumbled Alan. That night, Akkad and Laviette never made it to the well. Without waiting for midnight, they fell soundly asleep. For 2 months, Laviette had used the legend of the well as an excuse to have Akkad stay overnight at her place. "That's it. There's no one in the hallway. We'll definitely get to see the fairy tonight," Akkad said in an excited whisper. "All right then, let's go," said Laviette and took the boy's hand. "Laviette, have you heard the scary sounds in here?" whispered Akkad fearfully. Laviette hadn't expected him to be frightened by a small puff of wind. "Just look at me and walk," the girl asked. When they got outside, Laviette felt the cold. She wrapped Akkad in a plaid. She couldn't let him get sick. Akkad couldn't use his power on himself. "Laviette, why are you being so nice to me?" asked Akkad to the girl. Laviette admitted that she thought he was special, so she treasured him. A few minutes later, the children reached the well. "Akkad, look at the spooky atmosphere in here. It feels like there really are ghosts and fairies in here. Hurry up and make a wish. I'll open the well now," Laviette said in a joyful voice. "But you told me that you should make a wish by looking at the bottom of the well," the boy exclaimed and began to lift the lid of the well. Looking into the well, the children saw a pleasant blue glow. Suddenly the glow faded, and Laviette saw herself and Akkad grown up. They were completely covered in blood. "Damn, what's going on?" Laviette wondered. Back home, Laviette told her parents that she had seen something scary at the well. The Marquis and Marquise were surprised to hear this, for the well had dried up years ago. They ordered the servants to backfill the well. "My goodness, they have finally filled in this haunted well. Everyone knows that if you look into it, you can see your soulmate. But whether it's true to the end is unknown," the maid exclaimed as she spotted construction workers near the well. Akkad told his friend Laviette that he had decided to learn swordsmanship. He really wanted to become strong and brave. The original story told that Akkad, being the only child of the Duke's family, was so capable that he was sent off to war as soon as he turned 16. "But if you have fencing lessons every day, you and I won't be able to play together anymore," Laviette said in a sad voice. She was frustrated that the events of the book were moving too fast. "No, I will come to see you regularly. If everything goes according to plan, I'll be able to stay overnight at your place about once a week," soothed the girl Akkad. After Akkad started practicing fencing, the children saw each other very rarely. They began to communicate through letters. Cade ran up to Akkad and hit him painfully on the back with a practice ball. Cade was Akkad's cousin. "You couldn't even avoid the blow. Are you sure you're taking fencing classes?" asked Cade. "But it's not like we're in class right now," Akkad resented, rubbing his bruised back. "You think a weakling like you can pick a convenient time to practice? You told the Duke yourself that you wanted to get stronger. Why did you start slacking off? You lost an entire class to me again today," said Cade. Akkad knew that if he slipped up anywhere, Cade would be the one to inherit the title of Duke, and he would just have to stand somewhere on the sidelines and watch silently. Cade swung his practice sword again, intending to strike his brother. Akkad managed to fend off this attack. "Let's not fight you here, at least. I don't understand why you're doing this," resented Akkad. "You're in no position to tell me what to do," Cade exclaimed and kicked his brother in the stomach. "You should actually thank me for helping you get stronger. I mean, you're petty and you cry all the time. On top of that, you're always chasing after some girl. And what's that weird hair color on your head? Where did all these letters come from? Did Marquis Diaz's daughter send them to you? What a fool you are. You don't need to build a friendship with her. It would be more profitable to socialize with her older brother. Why would you want to see a girl who is about to die?" Hearing his cousin's last words, Akkad became furious. The boy pushed his cousin in the chest with all his might. "What was that? Where did you get that kind of strength in you?" Cade marveled. Quickly take that back and never say that about Laviette again, ordered Akkad. Since Laviette hadn't seen Akkad in a long time, she had gotten very little sleep. The girl felt numbness in her arms and legs. Her head was splitting with pain. Since she was afraid of catching a cold, she had to sleep under 2 warm blankets. Are you telling me that Akkad won't be coming to see me tonight either? Laviette asked her brother in a frustrated voice. The girl hoped that at least today Akkad would heal her and make her feel better. Yes, he won't come to you, but he sent you another letter in return, replied Werner. In his letter, Akkad wrote that he couldn't come to see the girl due to some circumstances. Laviette became extremely curious as to what unforeseen circumstances had appeared in her friend's life. Had he decided to stop communicating with her? Laviette asked her brother to take her to Akkad. Werner refused, as he didn't want the girl to get a fever after the long trip. Back in her room, Laviette decided to write a reply to Akkad. I'm in the mansion all the time, so I don't even have anything to write about. And why is Akkad's letter so short? I don't even know what to write back. The only thing I want is for him to come and see me as soon as possible. In her reply, Laviette wrote about how she holds no grudge against her friend for not being able to come to her. She asked to write longer letters because she was curious about what was going on in his life. Laviette didn't know that Akkad didn't want to go to her because he had injured his face during a fencing lesson. He knew that the girl would be upset to see the wound on his face. A few days later, Akkad ran into his cousin Cade in the hallway. Duke Enoch knew the children were in an argument. His fencing teachers had told him that they often fought in sparring and quite aggressively. Earl Courtney, Cade's father, is my only brother. The 2 of us only have 1 son each, so I'd like you guys to be like siblings to each other. If our families are united, no one can hurt us. You're right, Duke. Akkad, I did wrong to you last time. Forgive me for that. I will be more careful from now on, said Cade and held out his hand to his brother. I am extremely averse to handshakes, but if I don't, my father is unlikely to let me go to Laviette's. Akkad thought to himself, looking at his brother's outstretched hand. Making an effort on himself, Akkad shook Cade's hand. By the way, as far as I know, Miss Diaz only spends her time in the mansion. She is not allowed to go outside of it. Do you think she won't freak out when she sees your disgusting hands? Cade asked in a whisper. Akkad pulled his hand out irritably and headed for his room. A few days later, Akkad was still allowed to visit his friend Laviette. Akkad, look at what a great haircut Alan did on me, the girl exclaimed. Her friend's words upset the boy as he realized that while he was away, she had become close friends with her knight Alan. Akkad, why are you so upset? I haven't seen you in a while. You've most likely had a lot of different events happen in your life. Laviette got up from the couch and walked over to the boy. Akkad pulled the glove off his hand and touched the girl. Laviette immediately felt a surge of energy. Laviette, you're even more beautiful with your hair like that, Akkad said in a quiet voice. I can't believe that such power went through me. Something has clearly changed in Akkad. My heart is pounding fast from something. I feel very strange. The girl thought to herself. So wait, Akkad, are you saying that I'm beautiful with this hairstyle and not beautiful with my hair loose? Laviette exclaimed. That's absolutely not what I mean. You're beautiful both ways. Embarrassed, lowering his eyes to the floor, Akkad muttered. Akkad, do you remember what I wrote to you in the last letter? Laviette asked. Yes, that I should not let anyone touch me or hug anyone. You forbade me to do that, but somehow you yourself let others touch you, replied the boy. At the moment, I am only intimate with my knight Alan. I don't see what the big deal is since he is my escort. Alan is a different matter altogether. And actually, I think he's handsome. I like him, Laviette confessed. But you always told me I was handsome, didn't you? But I'm nothing like Sir Alan, so I am not handsome at all, said Akkad and cried quietly. What nonsense are you talking? Calm down. Of course you are much more handsome than Alan. There's not even any reason to compare you. And I'll remind you again that when you cry, you become ugly. Laviette tried to comfort the boy. Laviette, you love seeing me cry. You keep saying things to me that hurt me to the core, said Akkad to the girl. How can you say things like that? I don't like it. And don't say things like that to anyone, shouted Laviette. She knew that if the Duke and Duchess found out about this, she would be in trouble. That evening before bed, Laviette wanted to touch Akkad's hand, but he pushed her away. The boy remembered his cousin's words. What if the girl really would be frightened when she saw his disgusting hands? My hands are really ugly today. I don't want you to look at this ugliness. You won't like what you see, said Akkad to the girl. Who told you that? How did he have the tongue to say that? Laviette was indignant. It was my cousin Cade Courtney who said it. He's 2 years older than me. He and I are learning swordsmanship together, replied Akkad. So it was that pesky fly that kept me from meeting Akkad all these days? The girl guessed. She wanted to remember what was said about Cade in the novel, but nothing came to mind. And why did his cousin have a crush on him? Akkad isn't weak at all, he's just kind. Yes, he doesn't have a natural pink hair color, but he fits into all kinds of clothes. When Akkad grows up, he'll be very handsome, I'm sure of it. How can your brother talk about whether or not I'm going to be scared of something when he doesn't know me at all? How ridiculous he is after all, the girl exclaimed. Get up! We are going to your house now. I want to look into your brother's eyes. You shouldn't do that, said Akkad and plopped Laviette on the bed. He didn't want the girl dating his cousin. Cade Courtney was the son of an earl. Everyone he met along the way liked him. Cade was a well-mannered kid with a nice hair color and a beautiful smile. He was good with a sword and excelled in his studies. Although Cade was quite rude to his cousin, he treated other people very well. Akkad was afraid that if Laviette saw Cade, she would immediately fall in love with him. Let's just go to bed and not go anywhere. You'll definitely meet my brother, but some other time. Akkad promised the girl. Okay, but in return, you have to promise me that you'll sleep without gloves. Laviette pulled the gloves off Akkad's hands. The girl noticed they were completely covered in calluses. Why did your brother say your hands look disgusting? Yes, they are covered in wounds, but they aren't serious. All those calluses and cracks in the skin will heal soon, said the girl to Akkad. Do not hide your hands, for it is an indication of your hard work. And know that I think your hands are very beautiful. You are doing the right thing in practicing swordsmanship diligently. Soon you'll be able to fight back against anyone who dares to hurt you. Since Laviette wasn't allowed out of the mansion, she decided to invite Cade Courtney over. She really wanted to look into the eyes of the man who was bullying her friend Akkad. It seems that when my guest arrives, I'll need to wear something comfortable. In high society, it's customary to dress up nicely and look at everyone with a kind of disdain. But I'm different. I can't do that, grumbled Laviette. Alan, do you happen to know how you can beat a man so that no bruises are left on his body? Asked the girl to her knight. Do you want to learn the art of self-defense? Alan clarified. Well, yes, who knows? Maybe someone will harass me in the mansions. Then I can beat him, replied Laviette. Wait, are you saying that we have someone trying to harass you in the mansion? Asked Alan. Alan, don't panic ahead of time. I feel safe in this mansion. No one wants to hurt me. I'm just asking you just in case. Laviette cupped her hands tightly around her knight's face. Well, since that's the case, I'll show you some techniques. Alan promised the girl. Remember that when you hit someone, you may fall down, losing your balance. To prevent that from happening, you should stand firmly on your feet. You should hit them in the least defensible places. But I have absolutely no idea why you need self-defense classes. I'm always at your side, and I can protect you in case of an emergency. I think you're worrying for nothing. As she continued to sort through the letters, Laviette accidentally pushed a file folder off the desk. Falling to the floor, the papers scattered all over the room. The girl began to pick them up from the floor. This is how the genealogical tree of the royal family came into the girl's hands. Laviette immediately remembered that the book was about Prince Felix and Crown Prince Jackrid. According to the original story, the two factions would clash in the future. In the epicenter of events will be the main character, Werner. After going through many trials, he will join forces with Prince Felix. Together, they will defeat the Crown Prince Jackrid. They will be aided in this by Akkad. He will go to war at a young age and conquer many lands. It's very hard to imagine given Akkad's current character. On top of that, the Duke and Duchess love him, and it's unlikely they would send their only son to the battlefield. Laviette thought to herself, well, why can't I remember the plot of the book in great detail? I don't know why Akkad will go to war. What would motivate him to do so? I feel a big difference between the novel I read and the current situation. Sometimes I think that the ominous future might have actually turned out to be just a bad dream. Or maybe I wasn't really reborn and it was just a childish fantasy. If it wasn't all true, I'd be happy. I want to stop worrying about my future. A servant entered the dining room of Duke Enoch's estate and announced that a letter had arrived from the home of the Marquis Diaz. However, it was not meant for Akkad, but for Cade. Well, you see, now the Marquis's daughter is sending letters not only to you, but to me as well. Laughing merrily, Cade said. He loved seeing how this situation was upsetting his brother. Look at him worrying over some piece of paper. It's extremely amusing to watch. Cade thought to himself gloatingly. Oh, my throat's a little dry. If someone brings me a glass of lemonade, maybe I'll show him this letter. With a sly squint of one eye, Cade said. Akkad immediately went to the kitchen to get lemonade. Huh, you seriously brought me lemonade? Cade asked with a cheerful chuckle. Are you unschoolable, or do you have a bad memory? Cade knocked the glass of lemonade out of his brother's hands. There's no way I'm drinking anything an idiot like you gives me. By the way, the letter said, I don't need Akkad anymore. Even Miss Diaz knows you're a useless idiot. If you want to read the letter, good luck. Cade tore the letter into small pieces and tossed it at Akkad's feet. If you want to argue this, let's settle it through sparring. And I'm sure I'll come out the winner this time, but I doubt you'll have the guts to call me out. How can you tear up what Laviette gave you? Cade squatted down and picked up the scraps of the letter from the floor. Like my father said, I wanted to be a brother to him, yet he continues to desire what I cannot give him. He wants to take away my status, my place, and even Laviette. Suddenly Akkad remembered that the stairs were to be waxed today. He ran to his brother to warn him about it. Cade, freeze! You don't need to go on those stairs! Shouted Akkad. Cade didn't listen to his brother. He continued to descend. Suddenly he slipped and flew down. Oh, that hurts so bad. Wait, you knew about this. Did you purposely keep silent so I would fall down here? Are you really getting revenge on me because of some piece of paper? Cade exclaimed. You're right. I knew about it. I just forgot to tell you because I have a memory problem, replied Akkad. Since he was tired of his brother constantly bullying him, he decided he wasn't going to be friendly anymore. I feel wild pain in my muscles and bones from the rain. I hope Cade got my letter, thought Laviette, watching the rain outside the window. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Opening it, the girl saw Akkad. Akkad, what are you doing here at this late hour? Your clothes are completely soaked. Why did you come out in the rain? Exclaimed the girl. Akkad, with a sudden movement, hugged the girl and pulled her against him. Laviette, you don't have to hate me, whispered Akkad. Father, why should I put up with this? I'm sure he did it on purpose to keep me from going to the Diaz family, exclaimed Cade. Shut up. We are in the Duke's mansion right now. We can't let anyone overhear our conversation. You're right. We can't get away with this. Don't worry, all in good time. You just have to wait, said the Count to his son. Tell me, what's the matter? There must be some reason why you came in the middle of the night and told me such a thing. Is it because of your brother? Laviette asked. Because he told me that you don't need me anymore, replied Akkad. Akkad, listen to me carefully. I don't hate you, and I never will. Why would you think such a foolish thing? Laviette wondered. Because I like you, Akkad confessed. I like you too, Laviette said in a carefree tone. Really, you like me too? Rejoiced Akkad. After these words, the friendship between Laviette and Akkad became even stronger. They walked together almost every day, holding hands tightly. 2 years passed. Laviette grew older and stronger. There was no trace of her illness. Akkad had grown too. He became more mature and serious. Laviette was tired of seeing the same scenery every day. The girl heard that a festival was being held in the town square. Changing into street clothes, Laviette climbed outside through a gap in the fence and ran to the square. Akkad had been looking for Laviette for hours. She was neither in the house nor in the garden. Suddenly, Akkad noticed a small loophole in the fence. Akkad rushed to the girl's parents to tell them that Laviette had left the mansion. "I'm sorry. I'm the one who didn't keep track of her." Sorrowfully lowering his head, Akkad said, "No, it's not your fault. It wasn't your fault at all. Thank you for warning us about this. I don't think she didn't get far, so don't worry." The Duchess reassured the boy. Alan volunteered to go in search of Laviette. Akkad asked to go along with him. He was the one who had told the girl about the festival, so he felt guilty. "No, you can't come with me because it's dangerous. There are a lot of people at the festival. There might be criminals among them. It's better to leave it to the knights. No matter how brave and agile you are, you can't protect Laviette at the moment," replied Alan. In the beginning, Laviette was not bothered at all by the fact that she was not allowed to go outside the mansion. As time went on, the girl became very anxious to see what was beyond the fence. She could hear voices outside every day, smell the smells. The girl wanted to see everything with her own eyes so that she could discuss it with Akkad afterward. Since it was dangerous outside the mansion, Laviette guessed that her parents would not let her go. Therefore, she decided to act on her own. When Laviette opened her eyes, she saw her worried parents. They were calling loudly for the pontiff and looked extremely frightened. The frightened healer shouted something about bleeding and constantly demanded to bring bandages. The girl wanted to ask everyone to calm down, but she didn't have the strength to even open her mouth. Akkad wanted to help his friend, but Alan forbade him to enter the girl's room. "The pontiffs are about to arrive, so you'd better leave. Hopefully the young mistress will feel better, and you can visit her in time." "Akkad, I beg you, just don't cry," Laviette said in a quiet voice. "Laviette, I'm sorry, I didn't immediately realize where you were going. If I had gone with you, things would have been different," said Akkad, dropping tears. "It's a good thing you weren't there for me. You're so handsome. You would have been kidnapped right away. It's really scary outside. It's completely different from what I heard at the mansion," said Laviette. Akkad wanted to take off his gloves and heal the girl, but she forbade him to do so. "I don't want you to use your abilities for such a small thing. I believe my wounds will heal on their own. You need to hide your abilities. If I heal quickly, there may be questions." "But I can see that you are in pain. I don't want you to suffer," said Akkad and sobbed bitterly. "Stop crying. You've already cried all you can. Don't worry, I can handle it. A priest is coming to see me tomorrow, and he'll be sure to help me." Laviette stroked Akkad's head. Akkad promised himself that he would continue his training, would definitely become strong, and would never let anyone hurt Laviette again. The wounds on Laviette's body were healing rather quickly. Suddenly a memory came over the girl. She remembered why Akkad had gone to war at the age of 16. "Jenny, get Akkad here right away. I need to see him. I need to tell him something," shouted the girl. If events unfolded as they did in the original story, Akkad's uncle would kill Duke and Duchess Enoch a few years later. He will set it up as if there was a carriage accident. After that, he will become the head of the family. To keep Akkad out of the way, his uncle will send him off to war. "Laviette, the maids told me that you were acting extremely anxious today. Tell me what happened," asked Werner to his sister. "Werner, tell me, can you do anything I want for me? How far can you go?" asked Laviette to her brother. "I work in the Imperial Palace now. If my powers are not enough, I can ask our father to help you. I swear by the Diaz family name I will do anything I can for you," exclaimed Werner, putting his hand on his heart. "What if I asked you to get rid of someone? Would you honor that request too?" asked the girl. Werner looked at his little sister in surprise. He hadn't expected such words from a little girl. Laviette, do you happen to want to get rid of your friend Akkad? Maybe you had a fight and you're mad at him, asked Werner. What? No, of course not. I'm in the way of a completely different person, but I'll tell you about that a little later, exclaimed the girl. Werner was very fond of his little sister. Ever since she was born, the girl's family had been thinking of ways to save her. No one had any idea what the future held for her. It seemed to everyone that the child had no future. Werner often heard the servants discussing the young mistress's condition in an agitated voice. The girl did not take her food well. There were days when she even breathed with difficulty. Sometimes the maids would place bets on how long Laviette would live. Werner often went to church and prayed to God to keep his sister alive. Every spring, the girl caught a cold from a slight breeze. In the summer, she suffered from high fever, and in the winter almost did not get out of bed. Fortunately, everything changed dramatically when her friend Akkad appeared in Laviette's life. The girl's eyes began to shine, and a healthy blush appeared on her cheeks. Laviette knew that in this book world, children of aristocrats rarely go to war, unless a guardian or the imperial family orders them to do so. With the death of Duke and Duchess Enoch, Uncle Akkad will have the idea to send his nephew as far away as possible. War will seem like the perfect option to Akkad's uncle. After all, when his nephew dies, he will be able to make his son his successor. Horror! I'm torn up just thinking about it. I can't even find words for all these assholes. I'll show them where the crayfish are, the girl exclaimed in an irritated voice. She clutched the piece of paper with force. Why do you have to be so rude? Where did you learn it? Alan asked in a surprised voice. Oh, it just sort of came on its own. I'm sorry, I have to go. Akkad is supposed to come to see me today. Laviette hurriedly rushed out of the room. Upon seeing her friend Laviette, threw herself into his arms. Lavi, I have something to tell you. I'm being sent to the manor, whispered Akkad. So in order for you to be officially knighted, you have to train at the manor, Laviette clarified. Yes, and also my father has a lot of things piling up. He needs my help. I'm leaving for the manor as early as tomorrow, so you and I won't be seeing each other for a while, replied Akkad. It is good that he is getting away from his relatives. There is still plenty of time before tragedy strikes. I'll need to do more research while Akkad is away. Laviette decided to herself, if you wish, you can come to me after a time. I'll be a knight, and you'll be my lady. Embarrassed, Akkad offered. I have a great idea, said Laviette, and picked up a rose from the table. Akkad Enoch, do you swear to be my knight? Asked the girl. Yes, I will become your sword, Lady Laviette Diaz, replied Akkad. When Akkad left for the manor the next day, Laviette suddenly felt an emptiness within herself. Werner, what do I have to do to become a lady? The girl asked her brother. A whole year passed, but Akkad never returned. Laviette's health had greatly weakened, so the priests visited her regularly. Although the wound is not serious, the girl's recovery is very slow. In a surprised voice, the priest said, Can we invite the best priest here? Asked Werner. The priest reminded him that even priests from other countries had come to see Laviette, but they had also failed to help the girl. Her health was like that from the beginning. Besides, Miss got hurt badly last year. Perhaps that also affected her well-being. Knight Alan whispered in Werner's ear. But you still look for a priest who can help my sister, Werner insisted. Various teachers came into Laviette's life. She set her sights on becoming a real lady. Don't raise your elbows too high, Lady Diaz. Let's try again. Be sure to watch your hands this time, the etiquette teacher demanded. The cup is very heavy. Can't I use the one I usually use? Laviette asked. The girl's body trembled with tension. In this mansion, you use special lightweight utensils. However, you won't be able to demonstrate your manners when you enter another house. So no whining. Try to do it again, said the teacher in a voice that didn't tolerate objections. Brother, how can you exude grace without even moving a finger? Laviette marveled. It is very simple. You have before you a shining example of it, exclaimed Werner. Are etiquette lessons too difficult for you? Do you want to drop the class? In a worried voice, Werner asked. "No, I'll try to walk some more," answered Laviette. "Then I must reward you for your hard work. I brought something you've been asking me for a long time." Werner showed the girl a stack of papers. "Why didn't you say anything before this? You should have mentioned it right away," Laviette exclaimed, and snatched the stack of papers from her brother's hands. Shortly after Akkad's departure, the girl had asked her brother to find out why Earl Courtney was so eager to take the Duke's place. It wasn't the sort of information one would tell a child, but he all but agreed to take the case. What is the meaning of all this? Am I understanding it right? These are illegal acts committed while running the guild. Is that all you've been able to find out? Laviette asked her brother. "I've been very thorough, but I haven't been able to dig up anything else," admitted Werner. "Hell, there must be at least something else. This isn't enough. By the way, can you banish a man from the country or execute him for this?" asked the girl. "No, there is only a small fine for such an offense. In addition, I won't be able to personally handle the case. Therefore, I won't be able to find any more information," replied Werner. "Lavi, as I told you before, I really don't want you to worry about nothing, nor do I wish to hear you talk about the death penalty or exile in my presence." Werner went down on one knee before his sister and stroked her head. "Jenny, are you sure I absolutely have to wear this dress? I mean, I have absolutely no room to breathe in it," Laviette exclaimed. The maid explained to the girl that her etiquette teacher, Countess Austen, had insisted that she wear dressy dresses on a regular basis. Laviette heard the sound of an approaching carriage. The girl hurriedly looked out the window. She saw Alan helping the Countess out of the carriage. Suddenly, Alan kissed the Countess on the lips. "Ugh, what are they doing?" Laviette exclaimed. "Don't you know? Alan has been accompanying the Countess everywhere lately. They're probably having a relationship," said Jenny. "How many times do I have to tell you that it's not nice to watch others? You have much to learn in terms of etiquette," resented the Countess. "And why did Alan like her specifically? Couldn't he fall in love with anyone else?" Laviette thought to herself with annoyance. "Right in front of you is the subject of our lesson. I know not to wear shoes, but who knows when the time will come when you will need them. You need to learn to walk in heels so you can have a graceful gait." The Countess decided to continue her lesson. "Oh, they're uncomfortable," Laviette exclaimed as she put on her shoes. Laviette saw Alan flirting with the Countess again. Still, it is fascinating to watch this couple in love, Laviette thought to herself with a smile. "Miss Laviette, there's that smile on your face again. Haven't I already reprimanded you?" the Countess asked in an irritated voice and hit the girl on the arm with her pointer. "What did you just do?" Alan stepped between Countess Austen and Laviette. "Alan, don't take this the wrong way, but this kind of behavior is not good for Mrs. Learning. Why are you so surprised by a little instruction?" asked the Countess. "You have no right to behave like that with a young mistress. It seems to me that you weren't even listening to what Lavy was telling you," resented Alan. "The lesson is over for today. I've been told that you like to get handsy, but I didn't think you would resort to violence in front of me," said Alan and took Laviette in his arms. "You immediately struck me as softer and more tactile. I liked the way you unashamedly touched other people all the time." "But you were the first to express your feelings," the Countess exclaimed. "I do not remember such a thing. Therefore I do not understand why you have come to that conclusion," objected Alan to the woman. "But how? If you have no sympathy for me, why do you not take your eyes off me during lessons?" surprised the Countess. "To be honest, it was not you I was looking at. It was the pointer in your hand," Alan admitted. After this incident, the Countess of Austen demanded a raise in her salary. Laviette's parents agreed to her terms. The Countess continued to nag, but became gentler to Laviette. For 6 years, Akkad stayed at his father's estate. He succeeded in getting himself knighted. Since Akkad missed Laviette, he decided to return to the capital. There have been some strange rumors lately. They say that on cloudy days, the ghost of a blonde-haired young girl dressed in white appears. She always has a strange smile on her face. Isn't that funny? Laviette asked. As much as it pains me to say this rumor came about because of you. Because it's hot in the summer, you and I only go out when it's cloudy. That's why people nicknamed you the Ghost. Narrated Alan. Then I will also go out in sunny weather. I will bring an umbrella with me, Laviette said in a firm tone. Alan asked her not to, as she would faint after being in the sun for more than 30 minutes. For a long 6 years, Laviette had been adjusting to life without Akkad. Letters from him came very rarely. The girl's physical condition worsened day by day. Why don't we go to the temple sometime? I'm about to turn 18 years old. I need to find a groom as soon as possible, Laviette asked. Sure, she was very comfortable around Akkad, but she couldn't demand that he come back to her. A carriage rushed past Laviette. The girl had never seen it before. Alan, what kind of carriage is that? Look, it's heading towards our mansion. Are you aware of what's going on now? Laviette asked. That's Salome's carriage. Most likely your brother has decided to act, said Alan to the girl. Laviette demanded that they return to the mansion as soon as possible. So where did they go? I definitely saw them come in here, mumbled Laviette. And who are you looking for? Asked Laviette as a red-haired girl approached from behind. Startled, Laviette exclaimed and fell on her back. I apologize for scaring you. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rosa Salome. It's a pleasure to meet you, lovely lady. Miss Salome, why are you scaring my sister? Werner appeared in the hallway. Werner walked over to his sister and helped her up. Rose hastened to assure him that she didn't mean to frighten Laviette. She just decided to greet her. Mistress Salome, my name is Laviette Diaz. You can just call me Lavy. If you don't mind, I would like to chat with you over a cup of tea. Lavi, I was going to tell you about this sooner or later. I'm glad we're gathered here for a cup of tea, and now I can announce that I got engaged to Madame Rosa Salome the other day. With an embarrassed cough, Werner announced, Let me tell you a little about myself before the engagement, so that there will be no misunderstandings afterward. I am currently 25 years old and head of the 7th Night Regiment. Told Rose about herself. Laviette remembered from the original story that the family of the Marquis of Salome stood shoulder to shoulder with the family of Duke Enoch. The heirs of these houses have been studying fencing since they were young children. Let's stop talking about useless things and just get down to business. As for the engagement ceremony, it should be simple. It's possible to not have it much at all, Werner said dryly. Brother, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? Laviette wondered. Long ago, Laviette had read in a book that the main character, Werner Diaz, would betray Salome's family. After a while, the Marquis would take revenge on Werner. The only thing was, Laviette didn't remember what it was all about. I don't think we need to bother with an engagement and wedding. We're both too busy to delve into that, Werner said in the same emotionless tone. Okay, I'll agree to talk about the wedding preparations, and if you want, we'll have a simpler wedding. Rosa agreed. Apparently that's what marriages of convenience look like. I've never had a romantic relationship, either in my previous life or this one, so I'm a total sucker for relationships, Laviette thought to herself. Lavy, your brother values you very much. We have a stipulation in our contract that we will live in the same house with you. It's a deal I readily accepted, so don't worry about it, said Rose. Now that I've gotten to know you personally, I'm even glad I agreed to it. Lavi, don't worry. Your life won't change in any way after my wedding. I will have Alan as your escort. We will also have your doctors and maids living in the house with us. You will continue to live as you have been living, said Werner to his sister. Is he saying that I will continue to live like a bird in a cage? That I'll be by his side all the time because I'm sick and will never marry? Why does this nightmare haunt me? Angrily, the girl thought to herself. Well, no, I have my own plans for my life, Laviette exclaimed, jumping up from her seat. Suddenly, the girl's eyes began to double. She staggered and fainted. When the girl opened her eyes, she saw Akkad in front of her. Akkad, is it really you? Laviette asked incredulously. Yes, it is me, replied Akkad. Suddenly, Laviette's nose was bleeding. The girl became very embarrassed. She took out a handkerchief from her pocket and hurried to say goodbye to everyone. Akkad pulled the glove off his hand and touched the girl. "Do you feel better now?" Akkad asked. Why has his body improved so much? He has become very tall and broad-shouldered. He has become even more handsome than he was. Laviette thought to herself, I can't believe you actually came to see me. I haven't seen you in years, and suddenly you show up in my life so suddenly. You seem to be doing very well. Why didn't you write to me? Laviette asked. I'm sorry. Taking the girl's hand said Akkad. Laviette couldn't be mad at him as he was very nice. Levi, you seem to have been very unwell all this time, but now I'll be around to help you. Can you believe it? I finally learned how to control my power. I can use it whenever I want to. Now I don't have to wear gloves. Akkad took the girl's hand. Laviette immediately felt a great surge of strength. Has his energy always been this strong? I feel full of strength. I even feel like my illness has receded again. Laviette marveled to herself. You are simply incredible. If you can control your power, that means you can make a wound heal as naturally as possible. It won't raise anyone's suspicions. The girl exclaimed excitedly. Akkad tried not to look at her as he was feeling very embarrassed. Laviette was as cheerful as ever. She had only gotten more beautiful over the years. Akkad's heart pounded hard in his chest with excitement. It's been a long time since I've seen her, and in that long time I've been able to realize it's always bright around Laviette. No matter how cloudy the day was, the thought of her always gave me warm feelings. I immediately felt better. Akkad thought to himself. On days when I was really tired, the only thing that kept me going was that I wanted to be better for her. But it was probably all for nothing, because I still haven't learned how to control my face. Forgive me for rarely writing to you and for taking so long to get here. I didn't know you were waiting for me because you never asked me to come back, said Akkad, gently taking the girl's hand. I thought that you, as promised, wanted to come back to me already as a knight. And to be honest, I even thought for a moment that you had completely forgotten about me, the girl admitted. By the way, why did you often write in your letters about your brother Werner? What does he have to do with this? Asked the girl Akkad. I thought you would enjoy reading it, Laviette exclaimed. Why should I enjoy it? Wondered Akkad. Suddenly, Laviette swayed and fell right on top of Akkad. Involuntarily, Laviette kissed Akkad on the lips. Oh, I'm sorry, the girl exclaimed and bounced away from Akkad. Lavi, we just kissed. Am I reading that right? Asked a blushing Akkad. It was a mistake. I felt a sudden weakness in my legs and fell over. It wasn't all on purpose. I'm sorry, exclaimed the girl. I feel like something happened between you two, am I right? If you feel awkward because you haven't seen each other in a while, start a conversation with some simple topics. Talk about something easy like the weather, Alan advised. Akkad, have you heard anything about your uncle? Laviette asked Akkad. Are you talking now about that letter Werner sent me? He warned me that Count Courtney was plotting something illegal and asked me to keep an eye on his movements, replied Akkad. I think because of the strong evidence, my father has been meeting with my uncle. It seems the Count is slowly losing the trust he has earned all this time. My father now knows that my uncle is a greedy man. That is good to hear, for they will be more vigilant now. But how do I explain to them that it may not be enough? Laviette thought to herself. Lavi, I don't know why you're so worried about my uncle and brother, but I want to assure you that the Duke's family is not easily broken, whispered Akkad in the girl's ear. The title of Duke Enoch is given to those who inherit the ability. Only I, my father, and the imperial family know about my ability. The Enoch family's ability is very rare and valuable. Therefore, Earl Courtney won't dare to threaten us. But if the imperial family knows about Akkad's ability, and this ability is important in their eyes, then why was he sent to war in the novel? Maybe the emperor wanted to get rid of the Enoch family's power, Laviette wondered. If that's the case, and Akkad poses some kind of danger to the imperial family, then they will try with all their might to kill him. So how do I keep him safe? The next day, Laviette decided to go to visit Akkad. I haven't heard anything about this. You should have warned me, Alan exclaimed in a surprised voice. So that's what I'm telling you about it. Akkad came to me unannounced too, and on top of that, I had a hard time getting permission from my parents, so I had absolutely no time to warn you in advance. Let's go quickly before my parents change their minds. This was the first time Laviette was traveling on her own to visit Akkad. With excitement, the girl's heart was pounding frantically. At the threshold of the estate, the girl was met by Duchess Enoch. I would like to see Akkad, Laviette confessed. The Duchess replied to the girl that unfortunately at the moment her son had left for the imperial palace. He would not return until closer to evening. That's all right. I have plenty of time, so I'll wait for him. Next time, I'll have a hard time getting permission to leave the mansion, Laviette admitted. It's great that you're staying here. I suggest you spend the day together, the Duchess exclaimed joyfully. You mean you and I are going out right now? Laviette clarified. She had no idea that today she was in for a fun walk around the city. The first thing the Duchess led the girl to a jewelry store. Laviette had never seen so many precious stones and shiny metal before. The Duchess decided to give the girl a gift, so she bought a necklace with a large pink diamond for her. As expected, this piece suits you very well. It would be perfect if you wore this necklace and stood next to Akkad, the Duchess exclaimed happily. Laviette decided to buy a brooch with a blue stone. She wanted to present it as a gift. Thank you for a wonderful day. Thanks to you, I had a fun and good time. I know you wanted to meet Akkad, but he's been very busy lately, said Duchess Laviette as they headed back home. At the moment, Akkad is doing some of the Duke's work, though I'm sure he's already told you all about it. You probably even know about his abilities. Akkad himself told me about being able to heal people when he was 7 years old. That day, the information stunned me, but now I've gotten used to it. But this information is your family's big secret. Why do you talk about it so easily? Laviette wondered. Suddenly, the carriage rocked and began to lurch to the side. Laviette, sit still. It looks like our ride is taking a bit longer, the Duchess said in a calm voice. Is this really the one with the accident? But it was supposed to happen to the Duke and Duchess, but not to me. Frightened, the girl thought. Laviette, you need not worry in vain. This carriage is the sturdiest we have. In addition, we have knights traveling with us. They will catch up with us soon. And besides, I'm close by, so don't worry too much. The Duchess saw the fright on the girl's face, so she hurried to reassure her. If you're scared and can't control your emotions, just close your eyes. That should help. I want to assure you that I won't let anyone hurt you. I will not let anyone take my daughter-in-law away from me. Suddenly, the Duchess drew a long sword and held it out in front of her. As soon as Akkad walked out of the imperial palace, he immediately saw a servant rushing towards him at full speed. Young master, we're in trouble. The carriage that Madame and Miss Diaz were riding in has been attacked. They are now in the woods outside the capital, the servant reported. Go to the audience hall now and ask my father for help. Akkad ordered and jumped up on his horse. Why are you frozen in place? Deal with them quickly and be done with it, resented the mercenary. Wasn't our target a married couple? His partner asked in a surprised voice. The Duchess jumped out of the carriage and lunged at the mercenaries with her sword. Minutes later, the mercenaries lay unconscious on the ground. But before Laviette could rejoice, dozens of mercenaries began to approach the carriage from all sides. That's it. We're definitely finished now. I don't think they'll let us live, Laviette thought doomedly. There are only 2 women against us. Get rid of them, shouted the head of the mercenaries. Miss, please forgive me for being late. And I rushed here as soon as I could, exclaimed Alan, who had arrived. You don't have to worry about anything now. Leave these criminals to me. No matter how hard Alan and the other knights tried, it was extremely difficult for them to defeat the mercenaries. They seemed to appear again and again, literally out of nowhere. Laviette picked up a sharp brooch and stabbed it into the back of one of the mercenaries. When that didn't work, the girl threw herself around the man's neck and began strangling him. With one elbow strike, the mercenary threw the girl aside. The girl felt herself losing consciousness. Her body was burning with pain. She imagined how bitterly Akkad would cry at her funeral. She wondered if she died instead of the Duke, would Akkad's future change? Rushing to the battlefield, Akkad burst into the thick of things. Her body is so weak that it can't properly receive divine power. In a worried voice, the priest said, "She is recovering very slowly. We will hope that after applying our power, the girl should wake up. This night will be crucial. No more divine power can be used at this time." Akkad entered the girl's room and took her hands in his. He really hoped that his power would awaken the girl. Akkad knew that if he even slightly overdid it, he would hurt her. "God, I remember exactly that I died. Then why does my body hurt so much?" the girl whispered. "Lavi, don't say that. You're not going to die. And know that this is what I'm going to do for you," exclaimed Akkad. "Now that we have changed the method of treatment for Miss Diaz, we should focus our attention on healing the knights. Especially take care of Knight Allen of the Diaz family. I've been involved in raising this fellow for many years," said the Duke to the healer. "But we don't treat anyone but nobles," objected the healer. "Do we do so little for you that you cannot fulfill even such a request? Does he not need to be cured in order to be able to hold a sword again?" The Duke was indignant. "Don't worry about me, I'm fine. You better answer me. How is Miss Levy doing?" asked Allen to the Duke. "You don't have to worry. She has my son by her side," replied the Duke. Opening her eyes, Laviette saw a joyful Akkad in front of her. The girl grabbed Akkad's face with a sudden movement and nestled her lips to his. "Lavi, wait!" Akkad exclaimed fearfully. "Don't go. I want to be with you, and I finally feel alive," said Laviette, and nestled herself against Akkad's lips again. "Thanks to the priests, your sister is on the mend. There were dead and seriously injured. My wife and Laviette fainted from shock. We cannot let this situation go unaddressed," said the Duke to Werner. "So, you are saying that Earl Courtney is involved in all of this. Am I understanding you correctly? Where is he now?" Werner asked in an angry voice. When Laviette finally came to her senses, many things had already been settled. Count Courtney's family was finished for good. The Earl, who was the instigator of the attack, had committed suicide, unable to withstand the pressure from the Diaz and Enoch families. The Count's son and his wife were stripped of their status, so they had to flee to another country. They would most likely be wanted for the rest of their lives. "I'm sorry," Akkad said in an apologetic voice. "What are you apologizing for?" Laviette wondered. "I mean, you got hurt because of me. You warned me that something might happen, but I didn't think the scale would be this big." Lowering his eyes to the floor, Akkad said, "I was thinking about how I couldn't do anything right now, so I directed my attention to mastering the sword. I thought it would help keep my family safe. I'm sorry, I was inconsiderate of you and your needs. I couldn't even muster up the courage to look at her. I'm ashamed that she's in this situation. I don't seem to deserve to love her," thought to himself Akkad. "Akkad, what are you saying now? Do you know what I was thinking yesterday as soon as I woke up? I was glad I had you by my side at that moment," the girl exclaimed. She got up from her seat and walked towards Akkad with a firm, confident step. "I know for a fact that you treated me all night. I'm glad that things are good in your life now. Yes, you have a lot to blame yourself for, but I'm happy we meet again. Since Akkad's parents are alive, he won't go to war. I'll be with him all the time, so I can use his power. Now we can forget about all the diseases in the world," the girl thought to herself. These thoughts gave her a warm feeling in her heart. "Lavi, I'm glad we met again, too," Akkad said with a smile. He wanted to confess his feelings to the girl, but he didn't dare yet. Akkad promised himself that as soon as the moment was right, he would immediately tell Laviette that he had been in love with her for a long time. "It's nice to meet you, miss. My name is Caleb. I'll be your new escort knight until Alan makes a full recovery," joyfully announced the boy who entered the room. "I'm sure you and I will definitely get along." Caleb tiredly plopped down on the couch. "What are you doing?" Laviette wondered. Alan had never allowed himself such a thing in the presence of a girl. "I'm going to take a little nap now. Please wake me up if you want to go somewhere," said Caleb to the girl. After the carriage incident, Akkad started coming to Laviette's house much more often. "By the way, why isn't your escort knight beside you?" Akkad asked. "He must be in the wine cellar. Some good liquor is supposed to be brought in today. I think knights are secretly given free drinks. I always thought all knights were caring like Alan, but Caleb is different," narrated Laviette. "But that's even to my advantage. Since my new knight chaperone isn't following me around much, I can walk around the mansion completely alone. I even tried black tea mixed with brandy last time. It was very tasty. By the way, here's that handkerchief I'm embroidering right now. Wait, what's wrong with your face?" the girl asked, surprised. "I want to meet your escort knight Caleb right now," said Akkad to the girl. "Are you offended that we drank without you? You can join us next time. I don't think Caleb would mind," Laviette said in a carefree voice. The next day, Akkad brought the girl a handkerchief with his name on it. He had personally embroidered his name and delicate yellow flowers on it. "You embroidered this yourself? Didn't anyone help you? It's beautiful. Who would have thought that not only are you good with a sword, but you can also embroider?" Laviette marveled. It had occurred to Akkad last night that if he gave the girl a thing with his name on it, she would think of him more often. "It just turned out beautiful, and I didn't want to throw it away. Since I have no one to give this shawl to, I decided to give it to you," lied Akkad, embarrassed. Laviette decided to give Akkad a handkerchief with her name on it as well. "I can really have it?" wondered Akkad. "Yes. This handkerchief is yours now. When I saw your work, I realized that I have absolutely no ability to sew. Therefore, I will no longer do it. Perhaps my shawl doesn't look good, but it's my first and last work, so it's priceless." "Thank you, Levi. I'm so glad. I wish there was something else I could do for you." Smiling happily, Akkad said, "Then can I ask you for something? There is one place I want to go with you. Let's go to the temple together," suggested the girl. The temple was open to all people, except on days when there was a festival. The priests of the temple had healing powers. They healed wounds, restored peace of mind. Many believed that the priests were proof of the existence of God. "Why do you need to go to the temple?" Akkad wondered. The girl answered him that she wanted to pray. In fact, she had already decided to look for a healing priest who would become her husband in the future. "I am scared to go somewhere far away by myself. Everywhere I go, every time it ends in an accident. But I am firmly convinced that if I go with you, everything will be all right." The girl folded her hands prayerfully. "Okay, we'll go with you to the temple tomorrow," Akkad promised. Upon entering the temple, Laviette saw a group of young boys. She immediately went to them. "Lavi, where are you running to? These are Templars, not priests. They are in charge of the security of the temple and escort visitors," whispered Akkad in the girl's ear. "Look at them. How cool they are, after all." The girl marveled. Akkad decided to turn the girl's attention to something else. He led her to the sacred altar. "Doesn't this place remind you of our childhood? Do you remember about the well that granted wishes?" Akkad asked the girl. "Huh, you still remember that?" surprised Laviette. "Well, then you should also remember how much you cried as a child. Remember how scared you were telling my parents about the scary well? It's a shame that well was filled in after all. I would have gone to it again. We never got to make our wish that time, but I'm glad we're in the temple today, and we can ask God for anything we want. What wish do you want to make?" asked Akkad. "Well, who tells their wishes? Everyone knows that if you tell them, they will never come true," said the girl and began to pray. "Well then, I will keep my wish a secret. I will never tell you about it." In an offended voice, Akkad said and started praying too. "Oh, I didn't realize anyone was here," exclaimed a man who entered. "I apologize, but it seems like fate that we met you like this." "May I have your name?" the man asked Laviette. The girl noted to herself that he was very handsome. "Greetings, your highness the prince. God bless you," exclaimed Akkad, covering Laviette with his body. "Akkad," There is no need to be so formal. You remain somber even in the temple, the prince remarked. Greetings, your highness the prince. May the gods bless you. My name is Laviette, and I am of the family of the Marquis of Diaz. So you are Lady Laviette. I have heard a great deal about you from Madame Rosa. I want to tell you that you are much more beautiful than I have heard. The prince took the girl's hand and kissed it. Do you mean to say that you have been talking about me to Madame Rosa? Laviette exclaimed in surprise. She had never imagined that the prince knew of her existence. Have you become curious as to what we have been talking about? If so, let's all chat together, suggested the prince. Your Highness, I apologize, but we have business to attend to, so we must go, said Akkad. Laviette noted to herself that he was wary of the prince. In the future, Prince Felix will be the perpetrator of the attack on Madame Rosa. For that reason, I shouldn't like him either. But is that possible? I mean, he looks simply enchanting, Laviette thought to herself. Well then, we'll be sure to chat with you next time, the prince said with a smile. Listen, I didn't realize you knew the prince personally, Laviette muttered admiringly. I visit the palace often with my father, and the prince is quite intimate with the feudal lords. The main representatives of the feudal lords are two families, mine and Madame Rosa's. Akkad explained. Akkad, let me make the current situation clear to you. You are the most handsome man I have ever seen. Plus, you always smell good. That's what I thought as a child, and I was extremely amazed when you came home after your apprenticeship. You've changed a lot. You're taller, stronger. You look really cool. Plus, you're great with a sword, and I know how real you are. You're actually very sweet and kind, and I know how hard it is for you because of the person you love. Wait, what are you talking about now? Coughing nervously, Akkad asked. I thought you didn't know how I felt. Akkad's cheeks turned crimson red. Of course I'm aware of everything. I've been watching you for a long time, and I've realized about your feelings. You don't have to hide anything anymore. If you want to, then tell me the truth. I'll accept whatever you say. Laviette gently turned Akkad's head toward her with her finger. Do you mean it? If you only knew how much I wanted to tell you, but never got around to it. Akkad started to speak, but his throat was dry with excitement. The words were stuck in him and didn't want to come out. Don't be upset that Werner doesn't know how you feel. My brother is extremely tactless and insensitive as far as relationships are concerned, exclaimed the girl. She really wanted to support her friend. Wait, why are you talking about your brother all of a sudden? Akkad was in a slight state of shock. He hadn't expected this turn of events. Okay, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. The time will come, and you'll tell me all about it yourself, said Laviette. She suddenly realized that she had inadvertently brought up an extremely sensitive topic. You don't need to associate me with someone you don't understand. I'm not who you think I am, reassured the girl Akkad. I'm sorry if I accidentally made you angry. I didn't mean to. You don't hold a grudge against me, do you? We're still friends, aren't we? Resting her head on Akkad's shoulder, the girl asked. Yes, of course. You and I are friends. With a smile, Akkad replied. Laviette's feeling had gotten worse again. She was having trouble breathing. Tinnitus appeared in her ears. The girl couldn't even eat comfortably. Any food, even the softest, resembled sand when swallowed. Akkad, did he say if he was coming today or not? Laviette asked the maid. I heard he's been very busy lately. I'm not sure if he will have time to visit you today, replied the maid. Laviette guessed that she had hurt Akkad with her words. He hadn't come to see her for several days in a row. Werner ran into his fiancée Rosa in the corridor of the Imperial Palace. I had planned to meet you, but there was no way I could find a time to do so, said Werner to the girl. I see, and I already thought that you had forgotten about me since the promised time has already passed. I have something to say about it too, and I hope you'll make some time for me, Rose said with a smile. As you realize, there's going to be a war soon. Because of that, I'm going to be very busy. so I want to suggest that you postpone our wedding for a while. I've decided that I will also be involved in the war. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you this before. To be honest, I don't understand you at all. I heard that the enemy has brought in a lot of mercenaries, and now the size of their army exceeds ours. The terrain for war is extremely unfavorable. It will be difficult to win. Werner tried to appeal to the girl's sanity. You make it sound like you're worried about me, Rose said with a smirk. Of course I'm worried about you, because, as it is, you and I were going to get married, said Werner. I'm sorry, but I won't refuse to join the war. How can I stay in the capital when my subjects go to war? Asked Rosa rhetorically. So you would take such a risk out of a sense of duty, Werner wondered. Not just because of it. I looked at the report and realized that the outcome of the war will not be as you described it. I'm sure we have a good chance of winning, and I know I'll get home safely. You'll have to wait for me. Laviette felt a pleasant chill in her head. Someone had touched her very gently. Opening her eyes, the girl saw Akkad. Akkad, you came to me after all? Laviette exclaimed happily. I'm sorry I woke you up. And by the way, if you were feeling so bad, why didn't you call me? You know I would have surely come. Akkad said to the girl in a gentle voice. I thought that you didn't come to me because you were offended with me. For that reason, I didn't want to alarm you unnecessarily, Laviette confessed. Of course it wasn't so. I couldn't come because I was very busy. The Imperial Palace is very busy right now. I'll be sure to tell you all about it when you recover. Right now, you'd better get some sleep, advised the girl Akkad. Akkad touched Laviette's forehead, and she immediately began to drift into sleep. Yes, as soon as I wake up, immediately listen to everything you tell me. Just don't go anywhere. Stay with me. In a sleepy voice, the girl muttered, Okay, I'll be with you as long as I can, Akkad promised. Werner learned that the Emperor had issued a new decree that dealt with fighting. It turned out that Enoch's family, including Akkad, would be conscripted into military service. Werner guessed that this information would make his younger sister Laviette extremely upset. His Majesty has ordered you to participate in the battle as well. It's already been approved, so you can't refuse, said the Duke to his son. Sending the only heir of the family to war, isn't that overkill? Resented Akkad. I think there is some explanation for this action, but you and I cannot defy the Emperor's decree. You should begin your levies. The Duke really hoped his son would be all right and return home in one piece. I never thought I would be glad that I never got to confess my feelings to Laviette, thought to himself Akkad. What do you mean you're going to war? You've never said anything like that to me before. What's the rush? Laviette exclaimed. She clung tightly to Akkad's surcoat. The girl was very reluctant to let him go. Akkad leaned over to the girl and kissed her on the lips. He really wanted to protect her and everything about her. Is there really nothing else you want to tell me? Laviette asked with hope in her voice. Even though I've recently become a knight, but I will do my best for our victory. So you don't need to worry too much, said Akkad. But I don't want you to leave me. Promise me that you will sleep with me until you leave. I want you to spend that time with me, the girl asked. Akkad had no choice but to agree. Caleb, come down from that tree. I need your help. You're my chaperone. Why do I have to keep looking for you? Laviette resented. Well, you're the one who always told me you wanted to feel free. Jumping down to the ground, Caleb said, You should pick up some good alcohol for tonight. I want to have dinner with one man. We need a drink that will stir our hearts a little. Can you find the right one? Laviette asked. Don't worry. You know I'm a pro at alcoholic beverages. Just trust me. I'll be sure to bring something worthwhile, a drink that will stir your young hearts, Caleb promised. Laviette was glad that so far everything was going according to plan. She would throw Akkad an amazing party that he would remember for a long time to come.